Everything for Crash was going great when the unthinkable happened. Naughty Dog lost the rights to Crash Bandicoot.
Pack your shit, folks.
This news flipped people the fuck out. Seriously, everyone reacted to this by beating their younger brother over the head with a hammer and then shoving the wet end of the hammer into his bleeding asshole. Okay, maybe only I did that, but still, people were pissed. And the next company would need something awesome. The next company was Eurocom Entertainment, and they decided to do what Crash Team Racing did, and put a Crash Bandicoot twist, or spin, on a beloved Mario spin-off series, and their series of choice this time was Mario Party. Similar to the likes of Crash Team Racing, this is a game that on paper sounds like it won't work. But this game actually does. Crash Bash is a party game, similar to Mario Party. However, instead of the game being divided on a board like Mario Party, it would instead take the traditional Crash route and would divide the minigames up by warp rooms. It would also feature collecting many of the classic Crash elements, such as gems, crystals, trophies, and relics. Like CTR, Bash features an adventure mode, which serves as the story mode. What I love about this game is how built up and seriously the story is taken, when it is actually and factually just really simple. The story is, Aku Aku and Uka Uka are arguing over who's better. No, I'm really not kidding. Seriously. These guys might sound tough, but in actuality, they're only having a cat fight. In euphemisms. Both try to sound so high and mighty. I would just love to see one of them cut right through the bullshit and be all like, "Fuck, no." Uka Uka actually tries this and wants to fight, but apparently...
No, Uka Uka. The ancients would not allow it.
Wow. Okay, that makes sense. It's never explained who the ancients are. They have no point at all. This random plot point is addressed only once and is never brought up again. Who are the ancients? Will they be the final boss? Nope. Instead, they decide to start a contest, putting innocent lives at risk to handle their dirty work. Wow, these guys are really assholes now that you think about it. So the two seem ready, but Aku Aku whines about how the teams are uneven, so Tiny and Dingodile are switched to the good side. Crash Bash is a party game. The levels consist of 7 different minigame types. In each minigame type there are 4 different games. Minigames of the same type aren't exactly the same though. Minigames of the same type play similarly but have a different twist. In Ballistics, the game acts like 4-player Pong, with the 4 players each taking a side of the screen. The players need to defend their side of the board. Each player has a set number of points, which varies between each minigame. Every time a ball gets in your goal, your score lowers. When your score goes down to 0, you are eliminated, and your side of the board becomes a wall. This game ends when only one person is left. You are also given the ability to kick. By pressing the square button, you can kick the balls. Cute. This often results in the games beginning slow and then getting incredibly hectic by the end. Such is the case with Crash Ball. However, the game Beach Ball instead has you use magnets. You can press X to hold a ball, and then when you let go of the ball, it will go flying. When you start up the adventure mode, you're given a choice of 8 characters. Crash, Coco, Tiny, Dingodile, Cortex, Embryo, Koala Kong, and... Rilla-Roo, who the fuck? Okay. What's funny is that this is Rilla-Roo's only appearance in the series. He is never seen or heard from again. How sad. What's interesting is who you pick has an effect on the way you play. In the Polar Push minigames, you ride around on polar bears. Your goal is to knock the other players off the ice. You can also charge into other players by pressing the square button. However, you also have a charge meter that will deplete whenever you use your charge. What's interesting is that each of the characters' charges are different. Cortex's charge is incredibly strong and can knock you off the ice before you have time to react. The only problem is that he also exhausts all of his charge in one blow. Crash's charge, while being much weaker than Cortex, also only exhausts half of his meter. This means that he can deliver 2, or if timed correctly, 3 charges in a row, making him the ideal character to play as. However, in the Crate Crush minigames, characters have to throw crates at each other to lower their health. In this case, Crash is really weak because he slows down whenever he picks up a crate. Characters like Tiny are much more suited for this, as they don't slow down when picking up a crate, and they throw it really far. Similar to the likes of TF2, there's no ultimate all-around class. Each character is weak in one way or another. But in TF2, you can switch whenever you want. In this game, you can't change your character once you start. This can be incredibly frustrating. See, in Crash Team Racing, certain characters were better suited for certain tracks, but there was no character that was impossible to play through as. In this case, it's fucking balls to the wall hard. Let me state this right now. This is the hardest game I've ever played. I'll say that again. This is the hardest game I have ever played. Yeah, this game is fucking balls to the wall, makes you want to kill yourself, headache-inducing Chinese water torture. This game is insane! It's so insane! I hate it! It's too hard! Critical mass! Overload! Ah! no surprise that this game is insanely challenging. Thankfully, this game supports co-op, which you will really need. It sucks too though, because if you're like Crash Legend 25, then you probably don't have anyone to play with. Even when you've got a friend to fall back on, this game can still be brutal as hell. In some cases, co-op can actually be a detriment, as John was doing so terrible that he actually prevented me from keeping the game. I did manage to do it on single player, but I just barely made it. It was so close, it's ridiculous. But I'm getting a little off topic. Similar to the likes of CTR, Bash takes the concept of the game it is cloning and implements the classic Crash elements. The minigames are divided up in the warp rooms. You go around collecting trophies, gems, crystals, and relics. Your goal is to collect trophies, gems, and crystals. These will allow you to unlock the bosses. After you defeat a boss, you will be taken to the next warp room. When you progress, the game will require more trophies and such. But let me explain what these are. You earn trophies by winning a minigame 3 times. And that is a problem with this game. One of the flaws of Crash Bash is that this game isn't paced very well. That's worded terribly, so let me explain. In the case of Crash 2 and 3, levels were never too time-consuming. If you were doing an any % run, the game was relatively well-paced. There was never really a level that felt a lot longer or a lot shorter than the others. Bash lacks this pacing. Certain games can drone on forever, while other ones can go by so quick that you hardly have time to react. You can't quickly jump into a level and expect to be done with it. You're never really sure. What's irritating is that the trophies require you to win 3 times! 3 times! This can be incredibly irritating when the opponents win, especially in the Crash Ball minigame. Then there are also Gem and Crystal challenges, and this is what makes this game so fucking brutal. Gem and Crystal challenges can't be played until after you get the trophy of that level. Gem and Crystal challenges usually find some irritating way to take advantage of you. Usually by requiring you to win under a certain time limit, gain points faster than your opponents, taking abilities away from you, or having an element of the stage turned against you. These can prove to be quite the challenge. Some of the crystals are ridiculous. I mean seriously, look at this. Oh shit! I mean seriously, look at this. Who in the hell is expected to do this? In terms of the minigames themselves, they are quite varied. There are levels that act like 4-player Pong, involve you riding polar bears around and pushing your opponents off the ice, using a pogo stick to paint squares on a board and capture them for points, using crates to hurt other players in an all-out brawl, controlling tanks, riding around in a hover car, popping balloons for points, and many more. What's amazing is that none of these minigames really feel dull. Each of the minigames seem polished to near perfection. Controls are incredibly accurate and tight, and it's rare for you to lose because of bad controls. I will admit though that the hover car minigame's controls are very difficult to get used to. Not terrible, just very difficult to get used to. After you get used to it though, it can be tons of fun. In the adventure mode, there are also relics, which contribute to unlocking new minigames in the hidden 5th warp room, which opens after beating the final boss. In relic challenges, you have to fight against the already insane AI at an even harder difficulty. It's good though because the relics aren't a requirement. However, you are still required to get a ridiculous amount of crystals and gems. One good thing about the adventure mode are the bosses. The bosses feel really challenging, but reasonably challenging. Each of the bosses are intimidating and memorable. They all strike you in some way or another. Even the easy bosses like Papu Papu still manage to be fun. Stepping outside of the adventure mode, we have another mode to play in. We get Battle Mode, which acts as the arcade mode for this game. In Battle Mode, we can play with up to 4 players on any of the minigames. And let me say something about the multiplayer. It's just so fucking awesome! In Battle Mode, you can play with 3 other friends, and you can have the time of your fucking life. If you own this game and you haven't tried the 4-player, or at very least 3-player, then you might as well not own it at all. I would consider this the selling point of the game. But even when you aren't having fun with the amazing multiplayer, you can also play single player on any of the minigames you like, and it's actually very fun. Now for the game's graphics. In terms of graphics, the settings are very varied, and they all look nice. The problem is that they aren't as open as the others. I mean, I get it because you're just playing on small boards and everything, but it just doesn't have that same expansive feel of the classic games. But the environments still do look great. The colors are vibrant and all of the sets are memorable, and they don't usually blend in with each other, they each stand out. Also, like always, this game sports an excellent soundtrack. It's no surprise that Crash games leading up to this point have had some damn awesome music, but this game is special. I'm gonna say it right now, and it's probably gonna upset some people, but I believe Bash's soundtrack is the most creative, unique, original, and just goddamn awesome of all the soundtracks. The soundtrack is full of original songs, but also remixes. Now, I would call the remixes lazy if it weren't for the fact that practically every remix is a direct upgrade over its counterpart. Seriously, just have a listen for yourself. Similar to the likes of CTR, Crash Bash on the surface looks like a clone of its Mario counterpart. However, it would prove to be just as good, if not better, by implementing the elements that made its predecessor so great. The result is a party game that is as fun as it is fucking hard. Oh, and if you love fast and intense multiplayer, this game is a must-have for you. But even if you're like Dingo Crash and the only people you have to play with are your imaginary friends, you'll still feel right at home by playing the amazing but also insane adventure mode, listening to the outstanding soundtrack, and playing Pong on your own court. Man, I really need to proofread the script. I give Crash Bash a 5 out of 7. While it is upsetting to see the series founders leave, we can at least be content in knowing that Crash's series is in good hands. Hey, I don't know about you, but I'm excited as hell for the next game. Oh dear God. Join me in the next review.
That could have happened, folks. Oh my god! No! Oh my god!
Can you not clip